again to Let's Start Cooking. I'm Wayne, and this week marks a very special time for me because this week now marks 1 year that we've been on YouTube and we've been doing this channel. So I greatly appreciate everybody's been following me. I greatly appreciate the comments and the thumbs up. All I ask is that you keep liking, keep watching the videos, and because it's a 1 year anniversary, we decided to make something a little special. And what we're gonna make is we're gonna make duck à l'orange, or duck and orange sauce. So it's actually a really easy recipe. There's no reason to get all worked up about it and intimidated. It's just like roasting a chicken. What we have here is just a farm duck, and we've already had the neck and everything taken off of it. So all we're gonna do is, like I said, it's really simple. We've let this thaw out. Now we didn't let this come up to room temperature, still chilled. We don't wanna let this get warm. It is a foul. So what we're gonna do, again, it's a very easy recipe. We're just gonna take a roasting pan. You can use glass or you can use a metal one if you have it. And we're just gonna take just 3 carrots, 2 carrots if they're big, 3, excuse me. And we're not gonna try to be really neat with this. All we're doing is we're gonna cut these vegetables up and put them in the bottom of our roasting pan so we have something to set our duck on top of. So like I said, you don't have to be, we're just gonna chop these up. We're just gonna take them like that, throw them in the pan. Same with celery, I just use like 2, doesn't have to be anything neat. I'm just gonna take that like that, throw it in there. If you have really big pieces like some of these carrots, just cut them in half so they don't stick up too far on you. But we're just doing this to give the duck something to rest on. Same way with our onion. We're not going to be really neat with it. We're just going to take it. We're just going to peel this top layer off. Like I said, a lot of people get intimidated when you hear a name like duck à l'orange, or people sometimes are just intimidated with duck, and you don't have to be. It's not that hard to make. Like I said, it's basically like roasting a chicken, and you'd be surprised of how good it really is. So we just get this layer off. Let's be stubborn. And like I said, we're not going to be really easy with this. We're just going to cut it. Because all we really want is just the aromatics from this. We're not worried about cooking with it. And once we get this part, when you get your vegetables in your pan, you're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. We'll just get rid of this mess real quick. Just set this to the side. Now what we're going to do with our duck, we patted this duck down with a paper towel just to make sure that we didn't have any excess liquid on it. And all we're going to do, what I like to do, is I like to take, on the wings, I like to take this first knuckle off. You can feel it's kind of, you can feel it moving around. You can see it moving. You can take that off there. And just, like I said, just be careful because it is slippery. Or you can come back all the way to here and you can feel right where that joint is. And if you don't have a pair of these, get a pair of good scissors, poultry scissors. And that way it makes it look a little bit neater when you're putting it on the plate. And like I said, just feel for that knuckle. And you'll feel that knuckle separate, like I said. Once you get that knuckle separated, you might have to just get your scissors in between it. And now that you have that, what we're gonna do, we're gonna just stand him up. And like I said, this is basically like when you're doing Thanksgiving turkey. I know a lot of people actually make duck instead of turkey. And we're just gonna get a little bit of salt. We're just gonna get a little bit of salt down in there. Take a little bit of pepper. And like I said, you can do this to your own taste. You don't have to go nuts if you don't want to. And now what we're gonna make sure that we salt this, the pepper. And because the duck has a lot of fat on it, a lot of this is gonna cook off. So that's why I said it might look like you're putting a lot on, but you're really not. I'm gonna roll him over. And we're gonna do the same thing. And I know, like I said, a lot of people when you hear duck, if you've never had it before, it's not an off flavor like you would think, like, oh, it's wild game. Figure it's almost like the dark meat of a turkey or a chicken. So now that you have that salt and pepper, what we want to do is we're going to take half an orange. And it doesn't really matter what type of orange you're using. We're just going to use half an orange. And we're going to take that. We're just going to squeeze a little bit of that juice to get that juice flowing. And we're going to take the whole orange and just stuff them right in there. And that, believe it or not, is all we have to do. And we're going to wait for our oven to get up to 350 degrees. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our duck just the way it is. We're not doing anything else to it right now. And we're going to take it and lay it, this is the breast side. We're going to take this and lay this breast side down. We want the breast to lay on top of these vegetables because we want this fat to cook off of this duck, and it's going to make our orange sauce for us. So what we do is we just take our duck and we're just going to put it right like that, breast side down. And we're going to put this in the oven for 350 degrees for an hour and a half. And then we're going to take it back out and then we can finish up the rest of it. But we'll get this in the oven at 350 degrees for an hour and a half, and I will see you as soon as it's done. Now, before we actually stick this in the oven, what we want to do is just take a fork, and we're just going to go all around it, and what we want to do is we're going to poke this skin, because what we want to allow this to do is we want this skin to get nice and crispy. And by doing this, it's going to put holes in the skin and allow that fat to come out. But you want to make sure that you do this. Get your frustrations out. Okay, now we can put it in the oven. We just want to make sure that we got that part in for you. Okay, we're back. It's been about an hour and a half that we've had this in, and as you can see, the top is browned up really nice, and we do have a lot of duck fat laying in the bottom of this. So what we want to do now is we're going to remove this duck, and we're going to set it on a separate sheet, because what we want to do is we want to remove as much of this fat as we can. So all we're going to do, and be careful because obviously it's going to be hot, we're just going to take it and we're just going to lay it right here for now. Now, depending on what pan you used, you can either tip this and dump it into a heat-resistant bowl or a measuring cup, or like I'm going to, you can just use a turkey baster and pull this fat out of here because you want to save this fat. Because we want to leave the vegetables and everything in here. We don't want to have everything fall out on us. So we're just going to pick this up. Just take your time, be careful. And we're just going to get all this out. As soon as we get this out, we'll continue on. Once we do away with the duck fat and we have just the vegetables left, and we do still have a little bit of fat in here. But what we want to do is we're going to take about 2 tablespoons of flour, and we're just going to sprinkle this in. And we're going to mix all this up with what's in here. Now, obviously, if you were on a gluten-free diet, just don't add the flour. We're doing it because we want this to thicken up a little bit. This is going to be the base of our orange sauce. So we want to mix this up. And once we get this all nice and mixed up, and we're going to spread this back out again, we're going to take our white wine, and we have about a half a cup of white wine. And we're just going to put that right in. Now, depending on the pan that you are using, if you're using a really deep roasting pan, you can use 2 cups of broth, chicken broth, or if you're using a shallow pan like I am, you don't want to put 2 cups because you don't want to cover this after we just took all this time to roast this. But you want to have enough in here because basically what we're going to do now is we're going to use this to cook the rest of our duck, we're going to put this back in the oven for an hour. But only this time now, we're actually going to cook this breast side up. Because what we want to do now is, we want to make sure it's cooked all the way through, but the breast side up now is going to be, because that's what we're going to show when we actually serve. So now we're going to take our duck gently. She cooled off enough. And now we're going to take it and we're going to turn it over and we're going to serve it now just like that, breast side up. And we're going to get this back in the oven and we're going to cook this for another hour, just the way it is. So we'll get this back in the oven and I'll see you in an hour. All right, we've had this in for an hour. Our duck now is done cooking, but what we want to do now is we're going to remove the duck again, because we want this to set now for a little bit while we work on our sauce. And we're just going to gently pick them up. And we're just going to move them over here. And we'll let him rest. And what we want to do with this broth that we have left over, the onions and carrots and sauce, we're going to dump this into a strainer and we want to strain this off. So we're just going to take this now. And like I said, you can either spoon this in if you want, or dump it, whatever way you feel more comfortable. But we want to get a lot of this in. And we're just going to take this, we're going to pour it right in and let this drain. And when that's draining, what we're going to do, we're going to let that sit and drain. We're going to take our orange juice now and we're going to put it in our pan. And just get the rest of this off the bottom. And just go back and forth and try to get the stuff that's on the bottom of this pan. Now, you don't have to sit here and scrape every little thing off, but we just want to get the pieces that add the flavor. And once we do this, we're going to take this now and we're going to dump it in there. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take this now, we're going to dump this into our bowl. We're just going to take our pan now and just move this around a little bit so we make sure that we get every little thing out of here that we can. Because what we're going to want to do, we're going to want to take this now and we're going to add a half a cup of orange marmalade. And that's what's going to add now to our orange sauce. This is also giving our duck a chance to sit and rest for a little bit. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take this and we're just going to reduce this for like 10 minutes. We're going to bring this up to a boil and then we're going to turn it back down and we're going to let this reduce for 10 minutes. Okay, we've had our sauce reduced down, and all you want to do with your sauce, I didn't really show us doing this because I showed you we put everything in the pot and we just set it to boil, and once it came up to boil, we turned it down so it was just a slow boil, and you just let it go, and you're just going to reduce this down until it just coats the spoon. As you can see how it coats that spoon, it's not running off the spoon, it still has a coating. That's what you want, and that's all we want for our sauce. So we'll let that cool down just a hair, and what we're going to do now is we're going to take our duck, and one of the easiest ways I found to do any poultry is with a pair of scissors, actual poultry scissors. And if you look on a duck or even a chicken, you're going to see a straight line that goes down this duck. And what we want to do is we're going to cut right along that line. And just take your time, and we'll go right through everything. And you're gonna take your time, because what we wanna do is we're actually cutting through the ribs. Till you get to that very end. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna come along this other side. And we're gonna do the same thing. And basically what we're doing is we're cutting this breastbone out. And once we get that, now we open that up, and as you can see, all we're gonna do now is we're gonna flip them over. And it doesn't matter really what end you start with. If you wanna clean any of this up while you're here, now's the time that you wanna do it. And we're just gonna go down. If you feel the same way, you can feel that line. Now, if you go off a little bit, we're not experts. You know, you're not gonna be able to make this 100%, but you can almost feel that line go all the way down. And what we want to do is we want to stay on one side or the other with that line. And we're just going to cut right through everything. Oop, I didn't want to pull it apart, but now we have half the duck here. Now, you can do the same thing. We're gonna cut this right out of here because we don't want these rib bones in here and we don't want this backbone in here. So we'll cut this out. I'm just gonna cut around these legs. And like I said, not everybody's an expert. It might not work for you the first 2 or 3 times that you try it. But you know what? You're not gonna ruin anything. It's just you might tear the skin off a little bit on, you know, we're not serving restaurant style. But you just wanna get down to that joint. And once you get to that joint, you'll feel it. It's right in there. And you can actually feel that joint. And we want to basically snip through that joint without, and we want to tear this breast right off with it. But what we want to do is we're going to take this now, once we plated it, the portions that you want, we're just going to take some of our sauce, and we're just going to go right down over it. In between the duck and the orange that's coming out, the whole house smells. But that is how you make duck à l'orange or duck and orange sauce. I hope you enjoyed this video. I appreciate everyone that has subscribed to my channel so far on this 1-year anniversary for us. And I hope you'll tell your friends, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And until next week, I hope you have a great day.